We're back this week, continuing our division preview series with the Central Division. Also, should the Clippers just pay the man, that got them to land Kawhi Leonard? We'll discuss that and all that more here tonight on Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed that all that is sports. And join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened there. I got some stuff stuck in me, but thank you for joining us tonight. We got a lot to discuss, a lot of things going on in the basketball world. Basketball's tipping off here in 2 days. It felt like just 2 weeks ago that, the season just wrapped up. But now the season's about to get up and rolling. But a lot of news and stuff still coming out. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing very well, man. Things are going pretty good. On the football scale, my Bucks did win. But again, to yesterday we talked about before, congrats to Alabama yesterday for beating my Gators. So, but it was a really good game. So I'd be content with that. But yeah, man, even outside of football, like basketball is literally like 2 days away. And it seemed like we were just talking about, or we just had our live feed on the NBA draft, and we were just talking about the NBA finals. So yeah, man, we're already back just that quick, which is always great for us. That means more news for us.
Yes, sir. And, before we move on, Bama did win. I am happy about that. A few times during the game, I was kind of nervous, like, oh, okay. Y'all DBs keep on slipping and falling and stuff like that. But, they pulled through. Titans got the much-needed win against the Lions today. Your Bucks, looking shaky at first against Atlanta, but, they were playing the Atlanta Falcons, and they came back and won the thing.
Yeah.
Lots of things to talk about here, ladies and gentlemen. Kentucky. They just look,
Yeah. I don't know what – I mean, this literally is like the capital of – this caps off 2020. Like all the surprising things that have happened this year. I'm definitely not shocked by Kentucky looking like this now. It's just like kind of shocked, but like, dang, like knowing Calipari, you would think, Kentucky would be fully ready, but not surprised a little bit.
So, yeah, Kentucky, maybe that bounce back when SEC play comes around. Gonzaga, they maybe look like the team to beat this year in college basketball. They beat Iowa yesterday by double digits. So, and Jalen Suggs, either him or Cade Cunningham, looking like 1 and 2, top of the draft prospects for 2021. But we shall see down the line. But Mr. Locke, I want to ask you, I'll get your thoughts and opinions of the Clippers before we move on to our division preview series. The Clippers, ladies and gentlemen, kind of find themselves in hot water. Now, how much hot water would that be? Time will tell. With his investigation and stuff like that, it can go either way. But this is Rob, this a few days ago. And this article is from ESPN, also Athletic from where I saw as well. The NBA is investigating allegations made against the LA Clippers and team consultant Jerry West involving the free agency recruitment of Kawhi Leonard in the summer of 2019. Johnny Wilkes, a man who claims to be close to Leonard and best friends with Kawhi's uncle Dennis Robinson. Now, for some of y'all don't know, Kawhi's uncle seemed like he handles Kawhi, business behind the scenes. And probably was one of the main reasons why Kawhi is not in San Antonio anymore. Don't you agree with that, D-Lock? That he was kind of like one of the main driving forces behind that?
Yeah. I think that's probably, one of the closest people to Kawhi. So I think that he played a huge part. If anybody, he's the one that is in Kawhi's ear and, talking a lot to him and having these personal conversations about his plans, so career-wise. And I think he played a huge part. I think, hell, I think he even had a part with him even not going to the Lakers.
So, Mr. Wilkes is close friend, alleged to be close friends with Uncle Dennis. He filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles County Superior Court against West and the Clippers, alleging the team owes him $2.5 million in an oral agreement to help the Clippers get Kawhi. The lawsuit filed by Johnny Wilkes is repertoire with inaccuracies and allegations are baseless, the Clippers say in a statement. The Clippers are fully cooperating with the NBA in its investigation, which is the standard when these type of allegations are made. They provided the NBA with evidence that the allegations are false. Now, I'll stop there. D-Lock, we know in sports, in business, all that stuff, that people have these, or teams have these type of folks to get these type of results, to sway free agents, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you: should the Clippers and Jerry West, which I know I ain't trying to pocket watch, but I'm pretty sure he made enough change in his life that hopefully $2.5 million ain't nothing to seize that. But you think the Clippers should just pay this man and be done with it? Or they just use this man, how they see fit and think they ain't nothing gonna come out of it?
It'll be different. This was like college. That'd be a totally different scenario, or a lot more to talk about with more damage to the university. But I'm still trying to. Okay, so the road recruiting thing, like, I want to know what the ending result could be of this. I mean, because clearly he's not going anywhere. He's in LA. He's with the Clippers. They also got a hell of a deal with Paul George, with it, as much as we can't trust really playoff P, but he's there as well. So the biggest question is, what are the repercussions for this? Paying this guy, obviously, he clearly is about it. He's clearly trying to make some money. But to pay him and to get rid of it would make it seem more of them being guilty. So, it's kind of like they have to watch how they deal with it, because it can come off as, okay, yeah, we're guilty, we did this, that, and the third. Or come off as, we haven't done anything wrong. So, dude, money is so important right now, man. And I probably would want more details under it if I'm part of the Clippers organization before I try to pay him, or before I would pay.
Well, let me ask you this. Kawhi was interviewed when he was in Toronto, and, and shout out to everybody in the chat, and Terry, who lives in Southern California, can speak to this. Kawhi talked about, what he likes about Toronto and stuff like that. And one of the things he mentioned earlier, that it is very cold. And as we know, people who don't like cold like that, we're trying to find, especially athletes, we're trying to find back to get somewhere warmer or back close to their hometown.
Right.
And when you hear a statement like that, you thinking, okay, this dude, first chance he gets to leave, he's gone. And my question to you, did the Clippers really need to, trying to promise this man this amount of money, even though Kawhi was going to come out west anyway?
I mean, with this whole thing, it's a bothering thing because it's like, okay, now you're really having, a family member involved. So, and to say that they wanted to move on him early or recruit him early, like it could play a huge part. But for me, like I said, it's a different. The Clippers, we know what the Clippers are, right? They still say it now. The Clippers are kind of the team that's in the basement in LA. So, what did we see this year? Even before this, before he got there, when they played against Golden State, they had Trez, they had Beverly. They looked like a squad, and people was like, "Oh, we just have a couple more pieces." They did this with the squad that they had. Imagine when they get Kawhi and Paul George, and what happened this year? The same exact thing. So, for me, I really feel like that was a huge move for them. But what huge improvement did they do? I mean, yeah, you have, like I said, you have Paul George, you have Kawhi, but there's still that team in the basement. It's just like they made a move, but so did the Lakers. So for me, this is just something that I feel like is like his uncle wants some attention, and the Clippers they're involved with it. I mean, you have to find a way to get around it because at the end of the day, the goal is still to get to the NBA championship. I don't think that happens before Kawhi gets there. The chances are a lot slimmer. But we just did a review on this on that division a couple shows ago, and I still don't have them beating the Lakers. In fact, I have them probably not being as good. So for me, I just think this is like a bunch of, as they say, bull job.
Well, let's see. To continue reading from the article, according to a lawsuit, a copy of which was obtained by ESPN, Wilkes alleges that he informed West in April 2019 that he was close to Leonard and the All-Star's uncle. Wilkes and Robinson were teammates at Dorsey High School in LA. The lawsuit alleges that Wilkes told West that he can provide vital information to help the Clippers land Leonard in free agency if the team agrees to pay him $2.5 million for his services. According to the lawsuit, West agreed to the terms, which was dumb, and Wilkes is seeking $2.5 million plus damages. West told TMZ Sports, which first reported the lawsuit, that he denies engaging in any improper conduct connected with the signing of Kawhi Leonard. Leonard says Wilkes played no role in the decision to sign the Clippers over the Raptors and Lakers. And then also the article says, like we just discussed, Leonard's from LA and people trying to find a way to get some money and all that stuff. And blah, 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 blah. And also, with this whole thing with Jerry West and this lawsuit allegedly, he also called the Lakers a crap show and leaked tapes and tapes that were obtained by TMZ, saying the Lakers were a crap show around that time, and told Kawhi, hey, you don't want to go there. Their wheels are spinning. What do you think about those leaks and whatnot? What Jerry said about the Lakers, and then you kind of fast forward up to now, and seeing what that hot mess they in, the stories about Kawhi and Paul George. What you think about that?
It clearly sounds like that some kind of conversations were had. Like you said, it was stupid for him to even agree to something like that. Because even though we're talking about 2.4 million, we're talking about ball players who made way more than that. But for me, the fact that there's so much information, like it's clear that this cannot. I'm leaning on the fact that I'm more likely believing that this is true, because it's just too much information for somebody to just come up and just make up all this stuff. So that is a lot of information that was leaked out, and it also makes me think more about like we talked about before, the fact that he didn't go to the Lakers. Like you said, choosing between the Raptors and the Lakers. Like now, it kind of has me question a lot of that. Because as we remember, I'm pretty sure you remember too, but hell, everybody thought he was going to the Lakers, like until that night, Midtown at night, and we messed around and hear that he's going to the Clippers. In this huge package deal with Paul George. So for the longest, a lot of people thought that he was teaming up with LeBron. Hell, I think LeBron's camp and everybody else over there thought the same thing. So for me, all of this information that has came out has just opened a lot more eyes, to be honest. And you see that there has been conversations. So they got to get down to the bottom of it. The Clippers, like I said, even though Uncle's about money, to me, somebody's about to get exposed. Or the Clippers are getting exposed, just with the whole recruiting thing. So, but I feel like there's going to be more to this story as time goes. Like this is not something that's going away tomorrow.
What Jerry said in those leaked audio tapes about the Lakers, I do agree with him. At that point in time, Magic having that press conference the way he did, and then the infamous gif, him, sitting there bucking his eyes, shaking his head, saying, "No, I ain't coming back." They were a crap show. Magic going first take, talk about Rob Pelinka and stuff like that. You still had that, that sibling beef behind the scenes as well with Jenny and Jim Buss. And I talked about this brought this up last week. Some of the things that Magic has done. Some things I kind of question, like D'Angelo Russell. You sit his young behind down, say, "Hey, don't do this again. Focus on basketball and be done with it. Don't trade him because you think the locker room don't want to trust him. You made that investment as a second overall pick to turn that franchise around." So yeah, the Lakers were a crap show. But now you kind of look at it, fast forward now, Rob Pelinka, making most of the roster decisions, done a great job this past offseason. They just extended Kyle Kuzma to a $40 million deal today. You got guys like Montes Harrell, Dennis Schroeder on excellent deals. You brought Marcus All out from for him almost going to Spain to the fold. You may got a second round steal for a draft from a previous draft in Horton Tucker. Now, yes, I know it's preseason, but he's come around pretty nicely for the Lakers. Scoring 30 plus points on a couple nights is nothing to sneeze at. especially in the NBA preseason. There's nothing to sneeze at. So I if you can do that, you can hang around the league for a little bit. But then, you look at the Clippers side, D-Lock, you hear stories about Kawhi. Personal time, trying to fly and all this stuff. Paul George, and his issues and whatnot. And Kawhi maybe looking at him sideways and stuff like that. And I think, what that front office for the Clippers did, they saved face and signed George that long contract because we discussed this in the past. If the season didn't go right for them this year, both of those guys could have opted out and bounced. And then the Clippers sitting there, holding the roses at the altar. And those two guys, going down to Cancun and chilling.
Yeah. Well, you made all those moves for Kawhi and Paul George. It's like you're to the point now where you're trying to do everything that you can to make sure that you keep them and that you reach the potential. I mean, we just seen them let go of Doc Rivers. So this is that attention that the Clippers wanted. I mean, you were behind the shadow of the Lakers for a long time. Now you get you a couple of pieces. Something could happen for you, and you can manage to go on a couple of runs. But I mean, now not only what comes with that is these different allegations, these different things. The Lakers have been in the spotlight for so long. They've been through the ups and downs, the different things that they're going to talk about. The Lakers tried this or tried that and it didn't work, blah, blah, blah. What's the same thing right now with the Clippers? Like, once you get in that spotlight, it's not always, like silver and gold. Like, it's going to be some bad times. It's not always going to be, sunny days. And when you deal with different people, you make these different moves, this is the stuff that you're going to get. This is the stuff that's going to come out. Like, clearly, it was like their top priority to get Kawhi Leonard. And now that he's there, somebody is trying to let everybody know, look, this wasn't just something that just happened overnight. Like, they were trying to do this for the longest and X, Y, and Z. Like, a lot is coming out and they get exposed. But that comes with the popularity of being a bigger team. Like, when have we really heard anything about the Clippers? Like, it's the same thing that we hear about, when big time college teams are continuously winning at their own, well, usually some kind of allegation comes out about, what they did or what they might have done. So this is not a surprise to me, man.
To the chat, Tyrion brought up, asked us, do we think, Jerry is tampering with Kawhi? I believe so. I think, you say you believe so. And I'll close it with this, I don't think Jerry had to do all that. I don't think Jerry had to talk to this guy or whatever. I think, fortunate for, Kawhi being in Toronto a couple seasons ago, he won a title there. So you kind of broke that leash and, okay, I got y'all title. It's like 1 year rental. I really don't want to be here. So I'm going back to LA. And people in Toronto are cool about that. And like you mentioned, I ain't think, Jerry had to do all that. To promise that man $2.5 million. He didn't do all that. I think Kawhi was coming out here regardless. Kawhi was trying to get traded out to LA. And, and we know how, digging the hills Greg Popovich can be.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't know to do all that. Jerry West has been in the game too long to promise him some dude $2.5 million trying to line to get a player that is going to come out here anyways.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. And kind of surprising that he went along with that in the first place. It seemed like, kind of like the story, the movie Trading Places, when the two old dudes trying to get those stock prices in the report in the garage, they got hoodwinked. They got bad info. They got pecan. They didn't do all that.
Right.
I know you're trying to get ahead of the competition, but you didn't do all that. You should say,
They definitely seen somebody. They seen somebody just won a championship also, so they're making this big move to grab a player like him. And don't forget, at some point we will consider him as one of the. They will give him that expectation to be on the same arch as LeBron. So I'm not saying that it's right, but at the same time, like you said, it should not have been done. And we knew that he was going to come back to LA anyway. But you can see how deep this rivalry is between the Lakers and the Clippers. Like, it went that deep to where they were willing to risk everything to go get him to make sure he doesn't go to the Lakers.
Yeah. So you got to do what you got to do. But I think we're in agreement that Jerry didn't have to do all that.
Nope.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue our division preview series here on IE Sports Radio. And for this Sunday, we're previewing the Central Division. The Central Division comes with a lot of questions. And when, talking off air, we thought, out of all the divisions in the East, this one's going to be the weakest out of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of questions, a lot of young up-and-coming teams. D-Lock, I'll let you go first. 5-1, or actually, I got that wrong. I keep on forgetting, like, Central got like 6 teams for some odd reason.
Central has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, 5, okay.
Yeah, they got 5.
So, Central got 5 teams. D-Log, I'll let you go first. 5-1, who you got?
Okay, so we'll start this off. I have the Pistons at the bottom. Got a couple pieces, but right now, Blake Griffin, his health is in question. Also, how long he's going to be there, or if they consider to trade him. So they did pick up Jerami Grant. Derrick Rose is still there. They got Killian Hayes as well. Jordan McCray also was there. I believe they traded from last year. Picked up Josh Jackson. This team looks like they have a while to go. And I mean, this team looks literally like they're going to be at the bottom of the East. The biggest question mark, like I said, is what they're going to do with Blake Griffin. Like, he cannot stay healthy right now. It's like he shows up in spurts. So they did get Dylan Wright there, but that's not a huge piece to completely turn around. He's not like a game change, like a whole complete game changer. Jahlil Okafor is there as well, but he's not. I don't see him making a huge impact like that, being the fact that they also did grab Mason Plumlee. So this division is very, very not good to me. So I definitely have them at the bottom, but that doesn't mean that there's like these other teams are head and shoulders above them. The team that is actually right next to them that I have at 4 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they went all in when they won the championship with LeBron, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do. Got the hometown hero there with Kyrie Irving. Kevin Love, you got all these pieces, and they got a title out of it. But ever since then, it's kind of like they've taken the back seat. I believe the very next year they won championship, and LeBron left. They fired Ty Lue. Darius Garland is solid, but I feel like they need to figure out who's going to be the ball handler between him and Colin Sexton from former Bama guard. It just seems as if it's kind of like they play. It's like they play like the Rockets played when they had Russ and James Harden. One takes over one half, and the other takes over the other half. So, it kind of makes me question what their actual plan is. I mean, they have Andre Drummond, obviously, who I still consider as one of the better players in the league. But it seems like he only plays when he's motivated, and to his best abilities. Kevin Porter is there. Definitely expect him to blossom this year. Last year he was very inconsistent. So yeah. I'm expecting a better year from him this year. But this team is they're very young. Outside of Kevin Love, you still got Larry Nance there, who I think is a solid player, just like not really getting the minutes like that, being the fact they got Love and Drummond. So they can go long if they wanted to, but at the same time, Cedi Osman is not a game changer as well. But he definitely can improve a little bit. But they don't do too much for me to say that they'll change anything. Now this is where it gets tough. So here at the 3 spot. Now these two teams that I'm considering, I like the reason why it's tough for me, and I've said it before, is the coaching change in the Bulls. But I'll put the Bulls at 3.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I just feel like Kobe White is going to be a better player. Zach LaVine. But I just love the move they made in getting Billy Donovan. I really like that. For me, I just feel like what he did in OKC was just so surprising. I mean, didn't we talk about him possibly being like coach of the year?
Yeah.
Like, he did that good with what he had. Now, another reason why he did take this job is because this roster is very built similar to what he had in OKC. I mean, he had a bunch of guards over there. Right now, he has a bunch of guards over here with, Kobe White, Satoransky and a couple other guys with Zach LaVine. So I do like this team. I don't want to put it past them to make some noise. Because Kobe White last year didn't play as much as he should have, but eventually he took over and he's going to be a stud next year. Like, look for him to take a big step this year coming up. Ever since the slam dunk competition, Zach LaVine has been on another level for me. So I feel like you have 2 stud guards there for them to move forward with. They did pick up Garrett Temple, right?
I believe so, yes.
You can see him playing a big part as far as being on the fold. He's more so he can play the forward position because they're so deep at the guard position. So between him and Otto Porter Jr., you're gonna have some depth, and Patrick Williams also with Chandler Hutchison there. Lauren Marketing, he's like 1 or 2. He's almost there to make that move as well as a better player in the NBA. Like, he's really a couple more improvements just to make him a top player. So he also has to stay healthy too. That's his big deal. Sleeper player I do like on this team is Daniel Gafford. I think that the more minutes he get, if he can get in a rotation with this lineup that they have, with this roster, he can do a lot of damage. And obviously you got Wendell Carter. Like, he's like a stud, waiting to crack as well. So this is the reason why it was tough between picking them and the next team I got at 2, because this team is young and I love the coach that they have. Like, for what he had last year, And I know obviously he had a leader in Chris Paul. Like, he took them a very long way. So for me, I do have them at 3, but don't be surprised if they shock a lot of people, maybe move up. At 2, the Indiana Pacers. This whole scenario with Victor Oladipo kind of had me worried for a minute. My thing is with them is, what are you going to get out of Miles Turner and Sabonis consistently? That's the big deal for me. They just got a new coach. Don't want to butcher his name, but Nate Bjorkgren. I think he's a solid hire. But with this roster, I mean, come on, you got Brogdon, the journeyman, and TJ McConnell. You still got Jeremy Lamb there. TJ Warren, who we clearly seen is a hell of a player. Another person that I really like that doesn't get enough credit, that does, once he gets in, he does show out, is Jakar Sampson. I think he's really cool. I think he can play very well. They have a solid rock. Like, this team is going to have a very, very good defense still. You're between the 3 and the 5 position with TJ Warren, Sabonis, and Miles Turner. You got some guys that play some good defense. That's what Miles Turner is really known for out of everything. So you have that, and you have a little bit of depth at the guard position with Aaron Holiday and TJ McConnell. Sumner is not a bad piece either, but again, minutes is what you want to know more about with him, is what kind of minutes he's going to get. But this team is coming back pretty solid. I think they can be pretty good in this division. Now, like I said, in this division, you are talking about having the Pistons and the Cavs at the rock bottom. But I think there's going to be a dogfight between them and the Bulls to get second, maybe third. We're talking about possibly these two, win one game, win the other, and now they're flipping back and forth at 2 and 3. And obviously at the top, I mean, you got Giannis. Giannis in Milwaukee. For me, making the trade to get Drew Holiday was a very big move. And we did see he just signed a massive contract with Milwaukee, which was kind of a shocker. I didn't expect him to sign, but then again, he's only 26 right now, 24, 25.
Yeah.
So when his contract is up, he still could consider going somewhere else, be 30. Still fairly pretty young. But the fact that they went and got, and we know Drew Holiday is a big piece, but you mess around and go deep at the guard position and replace Bledsoe with Brian Forbes and DJ Augustine and Torrey Craig, dude, like those kind of pieces are what you need when we come to different rotations with the MVP that you got, the back-to-back MVP. And also grabbing Bobby Portis was a hell of a move. I think that's one of the sleeper picks this whole offseason is them getting Bobby Portis. So this team is going to run away with this division. There's no question in my mind. I just feel like, can they get past Miami? That's what they have to do. I mean, we talked about it last year, or not even last year, probably 3 or 4 months ago. It wasn't really last year. We talked about them playing against the Heat, and I believe I told you I had the Heat beating them in 6, or I had the Heat beat them in a series because they got bodies to throw at Giannis. And they have a more consistent guard now in Drew Holiday. They still have a defensive player, a solid defense. And you still got shooters in Torrey Craig, Brent Forbes, and DJ Augustine. So I think this is a step up for them, to me. I think this is a better roster than last year's roster. We know who they're gonna have to play in the Brooklyn Nets, who've been looking pretty solid. Kevin Durant has been looking pretty solid over the preseason so far. But I like this team. I like what they I like what they have. I like what they've added. I definitely like the improvement that they made. So they're going to run away with this division, no question. It's all about the playoffs for them.
I think for me, looking at this division, rebuild and a lot of uncertainty, except for the top. I'll get to that in a second. But a lot of uncertainty, for the future in the division. Now, some things got cleared up in the offseason, and others really did not. More questions than answers. Number 5, I'm in line with you. Detroit said number 5. I don't know where they going. We talked about this reviewing the free agency recap. Grant, he's a solid player to have, but I'm not paying him. That's a lot of money to pay for him. And, I crushed to death the Mason Plumlee signing. You got guys in the D League and whatnot that can do what he does, and you get them fraction the cost what you pay for him. That deal still blows my mind. And then, of course, you brought in Jahlil Okafor in the fold. You did draft Killian Hayes that you have been starting, in this preseason. Derrick Rose, you still got him off the bench to add that firepower. I just hate, what they did in free agency. The young guys that they added, like, if you're going to add these young guys, go ahead and go all the way with it and see who sticks out and build your future around them. Because you look at this list, like D-Lock, if they would kept Andre Drummond is making what, $27, $28 million this year in the last year of his contract?
Yeah, he's making a lot.
You pay Mason Plumlee between 3 years for $25 million. You're paying Oak for about $5 million. Wow, you could have just kept Drummond for that, and he's come out the books. So you kind of look at it, okay, y'all really doing this for nothing. And you could have had the better player there anyways. What they do with Blake Griffin, he looked pretty decent in preseason. And, of course, his shenanigans and stuff like that with Thomas Bryant the other day. Him smiling after he threw Thomas Bryant on the ground, one good look to me. But, what can you get on the open market for a Blake Griffin? That's one thing for me. Derrick Rose, I think with the right team, veteran team, looking for a guard to come off the bench or maybe that's a starter, you can get a pretty good value for him. But Detroit, if you get rid of those two guys, then you're in the full rebuild mode, in my humble opinion. But I am looking forward to seeing Killian Hayes this year. Siako as well, to see his development. And, Isaiah Stewart as well. Because at some point, you got to see who you got in your first, in the first round pick compared to Mason Plumlee. You know what you're getting out of Mason Plumlee.
Yeah.
I'd rather throw those men at Isaiah Stewart and see what you got in him, and then you just move forward in the future. So I got Detroit number 5. Number 4, I'm going Chicago here.
Yeah.
My thing with Chicago, it's like, and hopefully Bill Donovan can get the most out of these guys, but they got a lot of empty stat type of guys. You know, Zach LaVine, yeah, he can score and whatnot, but do those translate to wins? Laurie Marketing, I like to see him be a better rebounder, but it seems like he has good games, but it don't translate. Wendell Carter, he has decent games, but do they make a difference at the end of the scoreboard? So that's one thing I think Bill Donald's got to figure out. Like, okay, these guys can fill up the stat sheet, and of course Kobe White, he can as well. But can those things translate to wins when it counts? That's my big concern. With this team. They seem like they've been playing Patrick Williams in the starting lineup a lot. So, but I still think Otto Porter will probably start to get that balance to this team. Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe, if Patrick Williams does get to start at the start of the season, I think, long term, he can be better than Otto Porter because, Otto Porter coming to the league, he was the world's best shooter. And now you got this 19-year-old kid in. Hopefully, within a couple of years, he could be a very decent shooter. Way better than Otto Porter. So why not, have this kid in the starting lineup now, compared to this other dude and see what you get. But for the Bulls, like you mentioned, my Billy Donovan, I think the coaching was definitely needed. Jim Boland, when he eventually got elevated to that job, a lot of people questioned it because a lot of players didn't really like him.
Mm-hmm.
The way he was going about things, having these dudes punching clock and stuff like that. I ain't think that, he would survive there, and eventually he didn't. But Kobe White, I think it'll be a bright spot for this team this year. I think he's going to do great things. We talked about this in the past, even before we did this, start doing this show together. It's weird that he, when Kobe White played, he does very well, but it seemed like Boland was sitting there stunting his growth.
Yeah.
And, with Boland out the way, you see, okay, he can score, he can dish, you potentially market him with his hairstyle and stuff like that. Do some bobblehead giveaways or make some hats and stuff like that. Well, granted, you won't have people in the stands, but you kind of get where I'm going at. You got somebody marketable there in Chicago for the long term. But the main thing for me for Chicago, the great thing they done all offseason, in my humble eyes, they got rid of Gar Forman and John Paxson at that front office. You got rid of those two individuals out of that damn front office. Two guys that kind of have really helped out that organization for a very long time, D-Lock. And I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan. But seeing those two guys gone, I was like, damn, about time. And those two guys out the way, I think you can really move forward as a franchise and start anew. Granted, now Gar Forman got like a consulting job with the Pelicans, which I kind of question, but getting those guys out of the front office, bringing new management in. Now, granted, you can't change ownership, but but getting those two guys out the way is a great start. Along with a new coach, I think down the line, the Bulls should be fine. Number 3, I'm going Cleveland, but barely above Chicago.
Yeah.
It's really interchangeable with these two teams. The reason I stuck Chicago at 4 because I think they're a little bit younger. Cleveland, it seemed like, I don't know, man. It seemed like a hot mess. I won't say a hot mess, but
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm seeing the same thing I'm seeing.
It's like, where we going with this roster? Who's going to be starting here and there? The 3-man spot is going to be a real thing to keep an eye on this season. You got, Kevin Porter Jr., Cedi Osman. Granted he's still 25 years old, but you think, since LeBron is gone, he'll probably try to take out that position, but he really never got the bull by the horns. No pun intended. He never really stepped up to man that position. Now, a couple years in, they drafted Isaac Okoro in the mix. Now, you're in jeopardy of losing that starting spot. I'm surprised they never moved Kevin Love yet from this team.
That's the biggest thing, too. We talked about that thing. Didn't we talk about that during the draft? I thought he was going to be moved at some point.
Yeah. I don't know how, what they think they can get for him. But I'm surprised, he hasn't been moved yet to a veteran team to get some more assets. I'm really surprised about that. That the Cavs front office, hasn't moved him yet. Maybe this changed this season, but it's really mind-boggling that he has been moved because he's been linked to a Portland, linked to a Miami. Houston was also in rumors. So I'm really surprised that he hasn't been traded yet to a contending team. But the backcourt situation, I think you got to roll with Darius Garland at the 1 and Collin at the 2 to maximize those two guys. If for Bernie Bickerstaff, I was trying to look at old film like Allen Iverson to kind of like get an idea how that works. Him and Eric Snow, that backcourt back in the day. Trying to drop an idea like that. Or maybe like, Stephon Marbury in a sense. How I see those two guys working out. But if everybody stays healthy for Cleveland and they get something very good at their backcourt, I think you can talk about a sleeper team in the playoffs. Like that's hovering around that 7 through 9 area. But that just depends on if they click on all cylinders, everybody's healthy, and they hang around, fighting for playoff positioning. But I think if they don't make the playoffs, my only reason they don't make those playoffs if they start selling off Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. If they sell those two guys off, then scratch that for the playoffs for them.
Yeah.
Number 2, the Pacers. For me, I think they're going to slip a little bit. They'll still make the playoffs, but I think they're going to slip a little bit.
I was thinking something similar.
Victor Oladipo, He says he want to go, but he doesn't want to go. So, are you going to get the best out of him this season? You almost made the trade for the Pacers for Gordon Hayward, but you know they wanted T.J. Warren back in return. Like, I was in agreement with the Pacers. Like, nah, I don't want to do all that. Especially, for Gordon Hayward that, has an injury now. So, there's that. Kind of like with Cleveland, can they figure out the front court? Can Sabonis and Miles Turner play together? It seems like, since Sabonis' rise to all-star level, Miles Turner, kind of just falling back. And it's kind of really, I think, played a part of his production, seeing Sabonis leapfrog him like that. And hopefully, he can shake that off and contribute this season. And, you got the Holiday brothers in the mix, McDermott as well, and all that stuff. And then TJ Warren, he's going to miss first part of the season with injury. So hopefully you get some guys that step up in his place.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Pacers, hopefully you sell Owen Deep on the idea that you got a chance to be the man here. Where else you think you're gonna be the man at, or where you want to go? I don't know. But you got to sell Owen Deep to be the man, to be the man. And I think he could do there in Indiana. Does he want to stay there? That's the big question. But if they get TJ Warren back in at an appropriate time, I think this team be all right. I think, they got to shake off that Miami ghost. And TJ has got to overcome that Jimmy Butler thing. Because when they were matched up in the playoffs in the bubble, I think that was one thing that was affecting his play. Because he was playing pretty well up to that point. And then you get him matched up with Miami, and that beef they had during the regular season carried over to the bubble, and Warren was kind of shook, and he damn near disappeared.
Yeah. It's like Jimmy Butler had his number, yeah.
So, they started 5, pretty good. The bench, Jeremy Lamb, I like him. I said, Justin Holiday come off the bench. Who else? Like you mentioned, Jakar Simpson. Also, who was the player I was thinking about? Goga.
Goga, yeah.
Him. When he's in there, he gives you solid production. So they got not bad. They got a good roster. The starting 5 got to contend, and the bench got to come in and do their thing. But I think they'll make the playoffs again. And then of course atop the Milwaukee Bucks signing Giannis to the new long-term deal, making him the highest player in the league, player in the league. Major coup. You had to get that man signed. And they did a great job getting him extended. Now, Giannis going to be where the money resides. So, good for them. They got that out the way. You don't have to worry about him leaving and whatnot. The big question, all that stuff. He's there in Milwaukee in the prime of his athletic career, and you got him in the fold. The only things I question about Milwaukee, what they did in the offseason, they may have gave it too much up for Drew Holiday. 3 first-round picks sounds like a lot for him.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he's an upgrade over Eric Bledsoe? Yes. I think he is. Can he stay healthy to kind of get that return out of him this year? Time will tell. I think, for this team to go over the top, you need decent seasons out of Brook Lopez. He's got to show up defensively from time to time. I know that is not his strong suit. That's his brother's. But if he can show up there, when it counts, I think that would go a long way for Milwaukee. But I think that's why, like you mentioned, they brought in Bobby Portis. A guy, a crazy man in the middle that, okay, if Brook Lopez ain't going to do this, then maybe we got this guy here.
Yeah.
And the guy low key that can sneak off some double doubles, given the time. I expect more out of DJ Wilson. He's been in the fold with them for a good number of years now, but never really got the chance. So maybe this is his year to shine, but you got to get something out of him, and especially him being a first-round pick.
Yeah, you got to figure out what you're going to get out of him for real, because he's been there for a little minute.
Yeah. DJ Augustine, good signing, but I hate the money they gave to him. But I know you had to replace George Hill in that production. But I feel like, George Hill will give you some defense, though, with his scoring, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right with that. It feel like they kind of just went in and was just going like by any means to keep Giannis. That's what it seems like by all the moves. That we say that they gave up a lot for Drew Holiday. They paid DJ a lot of money. It just seemed like they were just trying to go all in to keep Giannis there.
And it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think another thing, they kept Giannis pretty happy. They got one of his brothers in the fold as well. So that's another positive, there. And also, the continued development of Dante DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton as well. So, and then Chris Middleton. I think he's key for the season. I think, we talk about it in the bubble. Besides that game 4, he kind of really didn't step up to the plate. And especially in that Miami series, Giannis was doing everything he could, but he felt like he needed a little more help from everybody else. And you figure Middleton will at least be that guy, but he really didn't show up. And really showed, especially, the way Miami went out. So hopefully, I think he'll have a solid regular season. And I think it's just when you get to the postseason that he doesn't disappear. Now you got Giannis in the fold for a while. And he knows that. Can I be dependent on to be that number 2 guy? So, and be the number 2 guy, be dependent upon, and kind of get this team over the hump into the finals this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the pieces that they have. You know what I'm saying? Like it for me, it makes all kind of sense that this team should have all the pieces. I mean, what we can say last year, what we found in last year was the fact that Eric Bledsoe was a little inconsistent. He would show up from time to time. Remember they paid him that fat contract? Was it like a couple of years ago?
Yep.
So now you got off the contract. You probably got a more consistent player with Drew Holiday, who was going to get shipped out of New Orleans anyway. So you have a lot of. Also, he lost Wesley Matthews, correct?
Yes.
So you basically went and got you a bunch of role players. I mean, what we seen with the Lakers this past year is what we've seen that LeBron and AD took over most anytime they really wanted, but they needed their role players to show up just from time to time. You know, the time that they would lose game one to Portland, KCP and all these other guys would show up just right on time to, you know, get the victory and get them a couple games. You've seen Rondo show up during the NBA Finals. I say that to say that, you know, you need those role players that are going to show up when the time is right. And right now, you know, you have the Giannis, the Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. I think that's your big three right there right now. These other guys, dude, I'm telling you, you know, I think we agree to this. If Brook Lopez can be consistent this year, this team would be a hard team to deal with because it's kind of like he shows up from time to time as well. He's a little inconsistent. So, you know, if you can get him to be a force, then it makes it easier for Torrey Craig, for Brent Forbes, and DJ Augustine to do what they're going to do. But also, like I said, you have a lot of pieces. You have a lot of different rotations. There's a rotation I'm looking at right now where you can have Bobby Portis playing the 5 with Giannis at the 4, or Giannis at the 5, Bobby Portis at the 4 with Chris Middleton playing the 3, leave Brent Forbes and DJ Augustine up there with 2 guards. They have so many different rotations that they can go with. So that's why I think it was a huge win for them this all season. But to clarify the win, to make sure that it's a win, get to the NBA Finals. Everybody's talking about the Nets right now. Everybody. To pass them and get to the NBA Finals, then that means this all season was definitely a win.
I think they still be. Well, let's see. I said they'll still be atop of the East. Like you mentioned about Brooklyn, I think they'll challenge them in that for that top spot. Boston, maybe that number 3 or maybe that number 2. But I think Milwaukee, I think they'll still stick at that top spot. Like you mentioned about the role players, like Pat Connaughton, Dante DiVincenzo, Augustine, Torrey Craig, you know, DJ Wilson, Bobby Portis. Those guys, when their number is called, they got to step up and produce. And especially in the playoff time.
Yep.
If a Chris Middleton ain't going to show up, then hopefully you get some, you know, out of Torrey Craig or Bobby Portis. So, granted, yes, you want your superstar to do everything, but, you know, he could be having, you know, a 50-point game, but could be down by 5. I mean, could be down by 5, you know, to the Indiana Pacers in a playoff matchup. And you hope maybe like a Drew Holiday can step up and get you over that hump. So to recap, I got Detroit number 5, Chicago number 4, Cleveland number 3, Pacers and Bucks at 2 and 1, with the Pacers and Bucks making the playoffs out of that group.
Yeah.
and potentially Cleveland if they keep everybody in the fold and everybody's healthy and they'll do no trading, like that.
Yeah, that's their problem. They can stay healthy, and it's just Drummond is a hell of a player. You just got to get everything out of him.
So that's who I'm looking at. My 5-1, and then my 2 teams making the playoffs out of that division.
Do you think that is there any way the Pacers can be a top playoff team in the East?
Are we talking about top 4?
Yeah. Because right now I got Brooklyn, I got Brooklyn, Miami. We'll get other teams. I got Brooklyn, Miami, Milwaukee. That's 3 already.
Oh man.
And I haven't even said anything about Boston yet.
I still got Boston top 3. Toronto, that's a team that's going to be in the middle of the pack for me. At that 4 or 5 spot. And maybe Miami too. They're going to be around there as well. So you think about a Miami, Toronto, Boston. That's 3 through 5 right there. Then after that, that's where I see at number 6, Indiana, potentially Cleveland, and then A spot, Orlando, Atlanta, Washington. So I don't see the Pacers as a top 4 team in the East.
It's a tough spot.
I mean, I know we talk about the West being a dogfight. The East they got their battle as well. I think 5 on down, that's going to be a real fight, to see who can make the playoffs. A lot of movers and shakers in the East. But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our show tonight. Thank you for tuning in with us. I did want to get an update on, on the Florida basketball player. Let's see. I forgot his name. I knew it at the top of my head. Keontae Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He is doing well. I think he shared a video a couple of days ago, D-Lock. So, he's look like he's on the road to recovery. So, it's awesome that he's, up and talking, and feeling great. So, shout out to the young man to getting better, and hopefully he continues that road to recovery. And we'll probably see him on the basketball court next season. But, the main thing is the man's health.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. It's good to have it.
So, shout out to him. And hopefully, he recovers very well. In his continuing recovery. Like we mentioned from the top, Kentucky, they looking sideways right now. Gonzaga looking like the best team in the country, and it's not even close.
Usual. Not surprised.
And then looking at college scores today, let's see. Rutgers beating Illinois 91-88. Texas, beating Oklahoma State by 3. Cade Cunningham, 9 for 19, 25 points in the loss. Texas getting 22 points from Andrew Jones and also 24 points from Greg Brown. So, very solid job for Texas. They moved to 7-1. Oklahoma State 6-2. Houston back in action after being out with COVID. The whole team being out with COVID. They beat Alcorn State by 30-plus points. And then the upset for today, Northwestern beat Michigan State by 14 points.
Another upset.
So, Northwestern, basketball and football, stars in line. They have very both productive seasons. So, you get 30 points from Boo B, if I pronounced that correctly. If you got that production from the sophomore, he came out big in that game. 9 for 15, 5 for 6 for 3-point land, 4 assists. So you get that production for him. Michigan State, Josh Langford been there for a good 5 years. You get 9 points out of him. But that's not going to be enough, especially with Big Ten play, coming to high gear. Any thoughts on those scores?
You got the biggest upset was a shocker to me. I feel like a lot of the thing about it is a lot of teams are going to talk about the pandemic and all that other stuff, but Creighton did have a close game as well. But the fact that Michigan State did go down was the shocker of the night. Illinois did lose day 2. So it's looking pretty shaky with a couple things. But to your point with Kentucky, it's like, wow. That's what you can say to it. So, but Houston looked like Houston. Blew out Alcorn State, which was expected. But I wonder what Michigan State does moving forward. But usually when a top 5 team loses like that, it benefits them moving down to the tournament.
And then real quick to the women's side of things. Shout out to Alabama women's basketball moving to 7-0. So, with the men's being real inconsistent, the ladies for Alabama, has really played well this year. In a year, I think, Christy Curry really needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And, to pull that team to 7-0. So, good job for them going to 7-0. And then just looking at the scores today for the ladies, Arizona beat Utah, Syracuse over Boston College.
Close one with Rice and A&M.
Oh, yes. In which, you never know what you get out of a Rice program in any sport besides baseball.
Yeah, they come out of nowhere. Yeah, they'll come out of nowhere. That'll be, you mess around and play them, they could more than likely have you on ESPN as being upset. So, like you said, in any sport. So, for it to be that tight, you know what Rice is bringing to the table in any game.
And then the Gonzaga women's team ranked like their counterpart, the men. They beat Eastern Michigan 77-68. So, more the same. The cream of the crop still stays where they at. Look at the rankings. I know UConn's women's team is slowly getting into rotation and playing. So, for the women's side, I think, you're going to see some sleepers come throughout the season. In my humble eyes. But we'll keep y'all updated on that and see how things progress on that side. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at Black-813, Twitter and Instagram. Obviously just now updated my Twitter and found out that it has a story like an Instagram. So, which is, I guess that's pretty cool. But yeah, Black-813, Black, the word dash, DASH, 813, man. And that's what I'll be doing all my sports talking, both of those. Let them know what they can, check you out in your podcast.
You can follow me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288 on Twitter. You can follow me on my other podcasts that I do, The Crooks Process, on Instagram and Facebook. Please do follow me on there. Also, if you're not following us on Twitter at Fastbreak IESR, please do. That is Fastbreak ISER. Also, please check out iesportsradio.com. You can catch the playback on this show. And after past 3 shows, doing our division preview series. So please do check those out. Also, I do want to give a programming note for tomorrow here on IE Sports Radio. The Unfiltered Truth with Phil Jones and Phil Robinson. I know they're going to talk about this tomorrow, D-Lock. The Raider players, were up in Phil Jones' DM this past weekend after that Thursday night loss. I'm not going to say who, but they're going to talk about that whole incident. It has been squashed, but I'm pretty sure, Phil Jones is going to talk about it in length, what happened. So do check them out tomorrow at 8:30 to get, the fallout for what happened there. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all next week. I know the NBA season will be kicking in high gear next time we'll be on. So we'll recap some of the stuff going on, but also continue that division preview series as well. So, until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to y'all later. We out.
Peace.